My name is Anna Shur-Wilson, and I am the Program Manager for Career Navigation here at WWCode. And I am thrilled to introduce our speaker today and our talk, which is all about transitioning to a career in code. And we are thrilled to present this with our partner, Criteo. And I am also thrilled to introduce our speaker today, Alejandra Paredes. So, Alejandra is a software developer at Criteo. She works on the unification of information to help other teams to be more efficient on search. She changed her career path 5 years ago from marketing to programming, and she is committed to keeping in touch with her emotions while developing her professional self. While coding, Alejandra loves to knit as it helps her debug faster. So I am so thrilled to welcome Alejandra for our talk today, and I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to her. And while we are doing that, I already see people are using the Q&A, and that would be great. We'll have time for Q&A. And if you use the Q&A feature, that would be great, so I can keep track of your questions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Alejandra, and so today we're going to talk about transitioning to a career into code. Professional retraining, it's very important to define and try now, because it's when you have a career and maybe professional experience and you decide to change, go back to school and start a new career and go back to studies and build a new career and bring all your information that you have from your previous experience into this new path. This is try to be a tips, warning, and story talk, and I hope you enjoy it. So this is Victor. Victor is a software engineer at Criteo. He started at Criteo at the same time as me. We were both junior. Victor learned to code 14 years ago. I was getting my first job as a product owner 15 years ago. Victor knows a lot about code, and I know a lot about product and ownership and communication and working inside a company. We were both juniors when we arrived, but we're not the same kind of juniors, and we will see how in a moment. My name is Alejandra Paredes, and I have a bachelor degree in mass communication. And 5 years ago, I decided to become a developer. And I will tell you a little bit more about that transition because it's kind of a funny story. But first, I wanted to share the beginning of this transition. I did coding in school. This is a development and architecture for mobiles and web applications coding school. And it took me 2 years to get my master's degrees. And I did it through alternance. So small parentheses, alternance is in France a way to study and you do both things. You study at the same time that you work on your career that you're studying. You do it through an apprenticeship contract. They pay you. It's minimum wage, but they pay you. And the thing is that you have different kind of rhythms, but just to give an example, you basically will see a rhythm like going to school for 1 week and then 3 weeks going to the office, to your company, to your job, to your professional job. And so as you are going through your career, you're building this professional experience because you are preparing in this, working already in this environment. So it's a very nice and realistic way to do professional retraining because we still need to keep paying groceries. And this is how I did it. And I explained that because I'm going to be talking a little bit about that time that I was working during my studies, and it was a coding work. But so, yeah, as I say, I did 2 years of master's degrees with an apprenticeship contract. And during those 2 years, I was working for a consulting company that was that helped companies to work with the cloud of Google. And I only had one client during that time, but it helped me a lot. It taught me a lot. Before that moment, before that experience, before doing coding school, I was mostly afraid of computers because I was afraid to break them. And my comfort zone was basically Word and PowerPoint and maybe Excel with not too many formulas. And that's it. But today I'm a software developer at Criteo. And it's been some 6 years that I took this decision, and I'm very happy with this change. And we're going to talk a little bit more through that. So I was saying that about that moment that I took the decision of changing careers, and it was 6 years ago. I was doing a road trip with my partner, and we were doing carpooling to our holidays in beautiful Italy. And the driver started talking with us about what we do for a living. And when it was my partner's moment to talk, he was telling how he was working for this company. They has a monolith application that they were trying to cut into pieces and do microservices, and how he was in the middle of this transformation. And the driver, he was like falling in love with him, watching him like something incredible. And he told him, "Do you want to send me your CV? I think I have a job for you." And Thomas, he was more like being polite. He was like, "Oh yeah, sure, okay," because this was like one another offer of a job. And I was there watching this situation in the back of the car, seeing how he was being proposed for a new job that he didn't even want. And I thought, okay, if I started doing coding, I could find jobs very easily. It pays really, really well. And I could keep maybe even traveling and always be sure that to find a job. So maybe I could do it. A few questions just to ensure that this is really the path that I want to follow. So I asked Thomas, how many times do you think I'm going to need to install Windows? Because 0 is already too many for me. And he was like, "What? You have a Mac. You don't need Windows. Why do you want to install Windows? That doesn't make any sense." I was like, "Okay, yes, perfect. And how much math do you think I will need?" And he said, "Hey, for starting, if you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and do a division, you're good to go." And I was like, "Let's do this." Perfect. So as I say, I spent 2 years in coding school and in apprenticeship before Criteo, before my current job. And during that time, I learned a few things that I wanted to share with you. First one is that I could write code that can go to production. And this is huge. It's still today in production, and it's my code. And I am very proud of it. I could also learn that I can write code even if I'm alone most of the time, and that I cannot challenge very much my code and my ideas on a daily basis. I also learned that I really didn't want to work like that. I wanted to be in the middle of a team. I wanted to be able to talk about code, to learn best practice, to be challenged, to have a code review, and to learn for more senior people. I also learned that I am good talking with product, vulgarizing technical concepts to not technical people. Actually, I am very, very good at that, especially. And at Criteo, they knew this. Somehow, when they were interviewing me, they knew that I came with less of technical skills, but I came with a lot of other information, very valuable information. Product information, for example, is very, very important to understand. The last thing that I understand from this very first experience is that you don't need to be passionate about code to do code. And this is a very important sentence, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I want you to remember this because it's going to become very important about the message that I want to share with you. So from that experience, from that first job, I got two main lessons. The first one is that you need to know what you need to be able to bloom at your job. You need to define what kind of environment fits you the better, and you need to be loud for that. You need to tell to the company that you are going to sign with that you want that, and ensure that you will have it, at least half of those things. So you can ensure that you will be able to bloom. You know why? Because people in professional retraining looking for our first job, we are different kind of juniors. We have less of technical skills, but we have a lot of other skills that I will never ever call soft skills. I think they are badass skills. Soft skills sounds like they're not important, and they're essential. But also, victors, we are juniors and we are sitting next to victors that learned to code when they were teenagers, and they know a lot about coding, but they know less about the other skills. And we together, when we are in this environment, we will be building up our skills, our technical skills, and the other skills too. But this connects to my second point. It's easier when you know what you are good at, and you can come and show it in front of you. We can tell to the industry how important it is to have a second business logic in your head while you're developing your technical skills. This is a very strong power of professional retraining. And to illustrate that, the other day I was speaking with a colleague. She is on the the financial department of Criteo. And she was telling me that she wanted to do the thing that I did, and that she wanted to start a developer career. And I was thinking later, can you imagine for a second, this woman, she learns to code, and then she started inside a team that will be assigned to build the next financial tool for Criteo. And she could sit with anyone in that financial team and understand so well the functional problem that they have, to challenge those ideas so well. And then she will have the technical skills, the coding skills, to go back to her development team and build together something. She would understand so well that this is the power of professional retraining. So while I was preparing this presentation, I was trying to remember about a few articles that really inspired me through my past. Rebecca Campbell, she's a software developer with many, many years of experience. She's a feminist and she's a very, very cool writer. Her blog, Nerdy Girl, talks about feminism and career advice and many, many other things. And I enjoyed particularly this post because she was talking about her female heroes through life. And her point was that women that defy convention are important. And I think today in computer science world, this is so important. This mindset is so important. The way we communicate, how we solve issues, how we go through a male dominant environment, we need to defy convention. And we will talk about that idea in a moment. We will come back to that, comment on that also. So coming back to Rebecca Campbell, I first met her work through this article, Letters to a New Developer. It's a website that takes contribution from other developers, and there are letters of themselves telling them what would have had known when they're starting in their developer career. And her contribution to website is very, very touching. The letter is amazing. She's super funny and empathic. And the title already says a lot. It never gets easier. You just go faster. And it's very, very true in coding world, because through your experience, you will build an intuition and you will go faster. But this intuition and this experience will prepare you to level up to the next step, to not so junior problems and get into a more complex problems. And it's always a beautiful, sometimes frustrated path that is totally worth it to go through. But this article, it's full of tips from Rebecca. And the first one is my favorite, that you will be able to read it and you get this article. But so the first one, it's you belong here. Try not to doubt that. And it's so important. So important. So this article inspired me to create my own list of topics for you when you are starting in your development career, in your work, and at school also. So this is my topics, my tips. The first one is talk about it to everyone. Go to meetups because it helps a lot to get vocabulary. And at the first time, you will feel like you don't understand anything, but keep going because it will come and you will feel so cool when you are going to be there and you start getting the technical topics that they are talking about. And the networking is very, very useful. Also talk with your schoolmates because you understand the problem from a different perspective, and it's very helpful. I think my favorite sentence when I spending time with a developer is, can we talk about code for a second? And it has helped me a lot. The next tip is ask questions. Many times you have a problem, either you know how to start, not necessarily how to end, but you know how to start, and then you get blocked, you come back, you ask questions, you take note, you record those conversations so you can come back and listen again, and you go back, you go forward a little bit, maybe you're going to get blocked again. It's inevitable, and you come back and you ask questions. Try to find a good balance between asking questions. When is the good moment to ask questions? Because sometimes when we are stuck, we can get frustrated, and frustration, it's not a good pal when you are developing. We are going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. The next step is to find a mentor. And probably your first better candidate is your boss, but let's that evolve into other people with two main strong points: knowledge and patience. Build a safe place with your mentor where you can say, I don't get it. We have been here and you're explaining me, but I still don't get it. And I need time to stay in my brain and try to understand all this information. But right now I need some space. It's very, very important to have a mentor where you feel secure. If you don't have that, find another person and let that evolve. Be patient. It takes time and kindness with yourself. Learn to take the frustration outside. Some people do sport, some people do listen to music. I need a lot because it helped me to put my brain in a state where I stop thinking and I can, and new ideas comes to me when I'm in that state. But when I'm just like circling around a problem that I have, other things can come and make noise. So learn to take that frustration away, even if it's saying that you are quitting. It happens to me many, many times, coming back home and crying all night and saying that I felt that I was losing my time and that I wanted to quit. And then the next day, with all that frustration outside, giving it another chance. Very important point. If you're thinking about quitting, doing it in a good moment. Do it when the code is working, after you have the big paycheck. Do it when everything is great. Don't quit while everything is going wrong, because it's not a good advisor and it's not really realistic most of the time. Learn to say, I don't know. And I didn't really thought about how important is this one until one coworker, Nicolas, he told me one day, you know, a good thing about you, Alejandra, is that you know how to say, I don't know, which means that when you say, I do know this, we can totally trust you. And it's important to say, I don't know, so your colleagues can understand where you are. If you need help, how can they help you, and etc. Learn to test. And learning to test, it's very, very cool because it helps to put the functional part in paper. And the thing is that the functional problem is the first problem that you will understand. The functional problem that your code is trying to solve is the first one. And also when you are testing, it helps you to cut your problem into smaller pieces. And that's a very, very useful skill when you are learning to code, cutting your problem into smaller pieces. Take time to practice. How do you do code so well? Practice. It must be an innate gift, a gift from God. It's practice. I will never understand how some people are so talented. It's a mystery. Practice. Practice is very, very important. You need to learn. You will be learning all the time. So give yourself time to practice. My best friend, he is also a developer, and I came to him one day and I said, okay, I want to do coding too. And he said, totally, you can do it. Just one thing, code every day, at least 20 minutes, but every day. Exercise that muscle and it will come to you, no doubt. I must confess, I do not code every day, not at all. But I can feel the difference when I am in the sun and when I've been coding for several weeks and my reflex become so much better with time. So that one is very, very important, practice. Don't listen to yourself. Sometimes it's better not listen to yourself. Many times when I'm talking to other women about doing professional retraining and doing code as professional retraining, they say things like this one. I am not intelligent in that way. I don't like math. I am not like you. Don't listen to yourself. Many of those are thoughts that are coming from our society. That think that man is for code engineering jobs and women and for support and communications and literature and something with feelings. But that is not true. The first developer in the world was a woman, and computer science world need feelings and communication skills to do software engineering also. Women and their point of view bring diversity to the tech world. And the industry it's really hurting because of lack of diversity. Women in professional retraining, it's a great solution to solve that problem. And that solution can arrive really, really fast if we all put ourselves on it. So again, be selective of what you listen from yourself and also from other people. Because I've been told many times, maybe programming is not for you. And it's a bit painful. And I'm sure they mean well. But even in that case, don't listen to them. Any topic, any learning curve always takes time. And again, it can bring a lot of frustration, but remember, you belong here. Many people told me this sentence when I was going through my path for professional retraining, and several of them really make me doubt, but I'm still here. And it's still my code that is in production today. So don't listen to them. For the second sentence, you should be a project manager. This is a very funny one because I totally understand why people tell me a lot that I should be project manager. I am a woman. I do great with communication skills. I have a lot of empathy. I always look for consensus. I am very good at talking with products. And in some way, I am the opposite of the stereotype of a computer science person, of a developer person. But I dare to defy convention. I don't want to be a project manager. I want to code. Don't listen to people. Be selective with what you listen. And with this idea, I want to close this talk. You don't need to be passionate about code to do code. And I'm going to exaggerate this image just I can make my point. Just because you don't fit into the most repetitive pattern it doesn't mean that you cannot do the job. Just because you are not having the click from the ones and the zeros from the code at a teen age, it doesn't mean that you cannot code. We people in professional retraining, we didn't do many years of deep algorithm studies and math. But that doesn't mean that we cannot code. Each day is a new progression. Each day you are becoming more and more a developer. The amount of side projects doesn't define how great developer you are. And neither the amount of line of code of contribution, nor if coding is your hobby. It's very funny because I don't think we ask to any lawyer or accounting person when they are doing a professional interview, a job interview. I don't think we ask them like, hey, so how many cases do you have on your free time? Or how many accounting do you do during your weekends? Because it's no. So why you are doing this for developers? You don't need to be passionate about code to do the job. Remember, you don't need to be a Victor. You can be an Alejandra. Thank you very much for listening. You can add me and reach out on LinkedIn under Alejandra Paredes. And that's it for me. If you have any questions. We cannot hear you because you are on mute.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Only 3 years later. So thank you, everybody. And thank you. We're going to have time for a few questions. And thank you, Alejandra, for saving so much time for questions. There's also, I want to tell all the participants to take a look at the chat. There's a lot of back and forth there. And then if you have questions, you can keep putting questions in the chat. We also tried to answer any Women Who Code specific questions we won't be answering right now. I have tried to answer, different links on Women Who Code, but I just want to get this because a lot of people ask about Women Who Code programs. There are tons of things happening every single day. So I would recommend, if you want to see what Women Who Code is doing, and if there are mentor programs, are there workshops, that kind of thing, is just to go to our events page. And I'm going to put it in the chat again, because you can see every single thing that's going on and get a sense of like what kind of things are going on. So let's get into it, Alejandra. The first question I have is from Shannon, and a lot of people touched on this because, and you answered this, that you don't have to love coding to be a software engineer. But Shannon was mentioning sometimes interviewers ask her, why don't you work on projects in your off time? And how do you respond to that? I mean, in your opinion, there are many different ways to answer this question, but yes, kind of how do you approach that issue?
I say that I don't have many side programs. I think that coding it's my entire day. It's 8 hours of my day. So I put a lot of my energy, all my energy into my job. And this don't give me any other side project. I did many side projects when, well, not side projects, but when I was doing school. So if they keep asking, I try to come back to one of those memories and talk a little bit about that. In general, I try to get that very, very clear. I don't have many side projects.
Thank you. That also connects to a lot of the other questions that people have, and it's about burning out while studying. because they learn, or people are telling them you have to spend so many hours practicing, but they feel like exhausted at the end of the day, and feel themselves like wanting to give up or something like that. So how did you balance while you were learning? How did you balance life and learning at the same time?
It was, for me, it was very, very important because the more relaxed I was, the more rested I was, the better I learned. So having a social life is very, very important for me because I'm a Latino, and and this is and so I tried always to come back home and have time to have dinner and to talk about something else beside code, and to have my friends and go to needs, and have time where I'm having fun. So going to code doesn't hurt, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very important, I think.
Great. Then another question, I'm just looking, we have so many questions, so thank you, everybody.
If I can,
yes.
I would like to add something that happened to me, because I started Criteo. It was literally 1 month after they closed all borders in France. So it was complete confinement here. And when I started Criteo, I was at home most of the time, and I was getting into this new job, and everybody was on Zoom, and it was very, very challenging. And I remember my boss told me, if you're not in the mood to code, try to do something else. Try to do something that you enjoy, so the willing to code comes to you. And we have to listen to ourselves. That's very, very important, because forcing yourself will never really work, because you won't be as rest as you should be, and your brain needs to be in a state that it's ready to get information. That was it.
Yeah, no, that is very good advice. We also have a couple people that are also transitioning from product or marketing. And when you were looking, can you just talk a little bit more about when you were looking for jobs that had more of those communication skills in addition? What kind of things did you look for in the job description to find the jobs you were talking about?
That's a little bit tricky, because at the beginning I had a lot of people that came to me like, hey, would you like to do our communication, and we will try to let you code a little bit. And I knew that was a trap. So at the very beginning, I was trying just to get the things that I knew that were important for me, have a team where I can feel comfortable, where I can discuss about the projects that we have, about the problems that I can get, and kind of communication will comes to it. It was pretty cool, because Criteo is an advertisement, a commerce media platform company. And I used to work in a company that also, when I was product owner, that also was related to marketing and to a little bit of publicity. So it was easy for me to hook that conversation and explain why for example, big data analyze huge amount of data, for example, was very, very important. And it plays really, really well. So every time I try to match the previous knowledge that I had in product with whatever the company do.
Yeah, I think that is really good advice. I actually used to run an analytics program, and basically all of the instructors said, I think that's a really good advice, that like, think about the industry. It's not just tech, like what part of the tech industry are you actually interested in? And I think that's really, really good advice. Another question that I'm seeing a lot is about the 2 years of studying and times when you listened to the negative thoughts you had. You spoke a little bit about this. So how did you, when you felt that doubt, how did you keep going? What kind of support did you have that helped you continue when you had doubts?
I cried a lot, a lot. Because I discovered that because I cry a lot, I am very, very strong. Because sitting and crying, it's take it out. Take it out from you. And so sometimes I arrive home and I was like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. I feel like I'm losing my time. I want to quit. And then I cry all night. And then the next morning I felt less weight and helped me a lot. But I also retake my knitting work when I decide to become a developer. Knitting is something that I enjoy deeply, and it's kind of like a meditation for me. So every time that I had doubts, I just put that thought in pause for a moment. If the crying didn't work before, or I was not into the mood of that, I put that thought in pause for a second, and then I went and I started knitting, and it helps me to think in a different, in something different for a moment. Take it out of your head. That's very important, because sometimes we are just going around with the same thoughts, hoping that something else will come up. And yeah, no, that's very, very hardly works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just great. Try to get out of that thoughts, of that negative chain of thoughts, and try to do something else for a second. And then, yes, you know, when you feel more relaxed, when you're back into your code, when the code is running again, then you can really thought about this.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with you that crying is really good. So we have a great supportive group here. So we have a lot of people that are trying to transition, of course, but they're hearing that there are hundreds of applications for junior positions. So you mentioned that you know, when you started Criteo, it went immediately to lockdown. Do you know anyone that's trying to transition now? And what are you hearing about entry-level positions? Do you think it's changed at all since you transitioned?
I am not really sure. So I'm going to answer based on my intuition. Right now, there is kind of like a general freeze during this period, and it's kind of hard. But that doesn't mean that we are not able to serve ourselves effectively. And again, what are you good at? How can you sell your profile in an effective way, so you can go to the top of that pile of applications? And because you are going to be coding all day, so your coding skills will push forward very, very fast. And then you will be a financial person that also know how to code. You will be a product owner that now know how to code. And this is very, very important information and very, very important skills for companies today, because all juniors going out of school and getting their first job in their entire life, they need to go through the fact that working in a company, there are things you need to know. And you already know them because you have been there, you have had another job already. So I would suggest to move that forward and like show how this can be very, very useful for the company. It's how it works for me.
Thank you. I also want to shout out Jasmine, who's sharing in the chat some experience that she had about a boot camp and people reaching out to her. I think a lot of people are commenting that they see that so many jobs require a computer science degree or a full degree and not a boot camp. And I just want to remind everyone that LinkedIn is an algorithm. So, you know, they show you certain things. You can absolutely join a community, reach out, and please join Women Who Code to meet people that have the same experience as you. And then my colleague at Women Who Code wants everyone to remember, if you meet 100% of the job posting, you're overqualified. So just apply, apply anyways. Let's see, I want to go back. I want to go through a few more of these questions. Let's see. Oh, can you speak a little bit more, Alejandra? You spoke about your colleague at Criteo who is in the finance, I think that's what it was, and transitioning. So we have some people who already work at a tech company in a non-technical position. Can you talk a little bit more about transitioning, about that experience that you were talking about?
I must confess that I am not sure which state is this woman in financial right now. I hope she took the step, and I know that several tech companies, at least here in France, they're starting to realize that if you already know your business and you want to learn development, this is a great opportunity for them. It's a win-win situation, because learning about a business logic takes time. But if you are already inside the company, you already have this kind of information. So the other day I was looking for a welcome email from Criteo, and it was this person that used to be a technical solution and then transitioned into product ownership, and now he's moving to R&D department to be a developer. And it makes perfect sense, because he has so many inputs about the company. He knows so well what is this company about. And I think that companies that are empowering their employees to do that jump, it's a smart move and a great opportunity, so we can all push forward.
Thank you. So we are starting to wrap up, so we'll have time for 2 more questions. I'm gonna just go through them, and I apologize to everyone that we're not gonna be able to get to all your questions today. Let's see. One moment. Oh yes, this was one that I was interested in. Is there anything that you wish you had done differently when you started your career transition?
I think I wish I could have more confidence on myself. Please just relax and let time pass. Wait. Okay. Just because coding, it's like learning a new language. So when you have 1 month, you can say very few things in that new language. And when you have 3 months, you can say a little bit more, but you can not follow a technical conference in that new language. And so give yourself time to go through that learning curve. And sometimes I get a lot of desperate because I felt like I was not going fast enough. And there is some part of the perfection that we are taught as women that comes play here, and it's kind of difficult. We are always chasing perfection, And because we are always chasing perfection, we are very, very hard with ourselves. Kindness, it's going to be very important if you decide to become a developer.
Great. So for the last question today, I think this is great because we talked a lot about preparing for this talk and that kind of thing. So someone wants to know, they loved your talk and you are so confident and they really inspired them. So how did you get into public speaking? Did you have any fears about public speaking? How did you prepare for this talk today?
It's public speaking. So I have a great mentor that I thank him a lot, Peter Mueller. He works at Criteo, and he's always like saying to other women, like, you can do it, go, go, go. And I thought that because of many people at Criteo know that I did professional retraining, I often match with some people that say that they're thinking into change career path. So at some point I thought, okay, maybe I should prepare something when I go through my experience and I can explain to everyone how it was for me, what worked, what it didn't work. So that gave me the idea of making this presentation, and then getting into, you know, come and speaking with everyone and having 300 attendees. That's something that you never get used to it, honestly. But the fact that if this can help other people, it's a very nice feeling. And that fuels me a lot. You are in mute.
Thank you so much today. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable with us and sharing your journey. I think the audience has been so excited, and I apologize to everyone. We weren't able to answer all of your questions today, but we have events all the time. So I really, really recommend to people that you go to smaller events, you go to our big events. There's so many different ways to networking, especially if you're nervous. Joining Slack and doing an emoji reaction to somebody's comment, that's networking. Network in the way that you feel comfortable, and you'll get more and more comfortable. So thank you so much, Alejandra, and thank you so much, Criteo, for introducing Alejandra to our community. We were so happy to have you.
Thank you very, very much.
Bye, everybody.